Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, TrackStat, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 451 of the Chirohustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Chuck Gibson. And if you want to learn how to make your main thing, and save chiropractic, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chirohustle podcast. Today I have Dr. Chuck Gibson with me. What an honor it is to have you on this show. Before we jump into episode 451 with Chuck Gibson, I'm just going to let you listeners know the big why behind our show. Number one, we protect freedom of speech. I believe that's so important in today's era. And we also protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, go to your favorite search engine right now and look for B.J. Palmer's last words, the sacred trust. And we also support subluxation chiropractic. And I think that that's so important in today's era also, because a lot of these things are starting to slowly slip away from the vernacular and the curriculums in these colleges. And lastly, we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence, and that when man or woman, the physical, get adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that being said, Dr. Chuck Gibson, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been catching up a little bit. I'm really excited about your history in this profession and some of the things that you know, some of the backstories, if you will, about the chiropractic world. So before we get into the question set, maybe you can just let everybody know a little bit about yourself and how you got into chiropractic.
Well, from age 12 until age 16, I had a very severe skin disorder. I guess it would be psoriasis of the entire body, face included. And finally, I went through the medical route, whatever was available to me, which was not a lot. And then my mother took me in January of 1951 to an upper cervical chiropractor, who, by the way, had been arrested twice in Illinois for practicing without a license. And he adjusted my atlas, and a miracle took place. Within 3 weeks, the fractures and the cracks in my skin began to heal. The drainage began to stop. The flaking began to stop, and within 3 or 4 months, you would never known I ever had a skin disorder. And I said, that's it, I'm going to be a chiropractor. So to show you how naive I was, I didn't even bother to enroll in Palmer College. I just showed up and unannounced. And they checked my pulse, and they said, yep, you qualify. So I became a student at age 17 at Palmer College, graduated 15 days before my 21st birthday, and Palmer would not give me a diploma until I was 21. So I had to stay in Davenport for an extra 15 days. And I jokingly say 15 extra days in Davenport is cruel and inhuman punishment, but I really don't mean that, because the truth is Davenport was a wonderful place for me, and it still is today. And as far as I'm concerned, Palmer College is hallowed ground.
You know, I know we've had a chance to see each other over the past couple of years, and it's been a real honor for me, especially that lunch we had together with Dr. Adam Del Toro out there in Burbank at Chiropractic Rocks.
That's correct.
You were the keynote speaker there, and it was a real privilege for me to spend some time with you. And it seems like every time we get together, all we do is laugh.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
Yeah, and a lot of people know because they watch our show. I did grow up in Davenport, Iowa, and that's my hometown. And I always feel like as I got into this profession 14 years ago, I mean, it's nothing in comparison to your 71 years, but 14 years, I've never looked back. And I do believe that, being so close to Palmer, that I was on sacred ground my whole life. For 30 years, I was on that land out there. So it might have done something to me.
That's true.
Actually, my first chiropractic story, Chuck, was I was playing high school football at Davenport Central and hurt my shoulder. And my athletic trainer told me to go over and get an x-ray at Palmer College.
So how about that?
Yeah. So I started my chiropractic career when I was 16.
There you go.
So let's talk practice management a little bit and clinic growth. What are some solutions in today's era that chiropractors should be doing without a doubt?
Well, first of all, I want to say to you that I started teaching at Parker seminars in 1961, and I taught there for 16 years. And I found out that the people that you don't, it's what you hear, it's what you do. And I found out that the ones that would go home and do what I was advocating were the ones that would corner me and ask me questions about how it would work for them. And so in 1977, I thought, well, gee, it would really be nice if I had about 20 chiropractors I could work with one-on-one. And so I put out the word, and the first year I was in business, I had 168 clients. So anyway, it's been fantastic ever since. We've mentored over 4,000 chiropractors in our lifetime, and we've made millionaires out of helped them become millionaires out of a lot of chiropractors. Anyway, here's what I believe. I believe that everybody needs a coach, because the moment you become accountable, you're far more likely to do what you're supposed to do than if you don't have a coach. And we've had some really great. I founded the practice management business for chiropractors, but there's been a number of really good ones that have followed me as well, and also some not so good ones as well. But I advocate that every person should be in contact with a power source. They should have a mentor, and they should have somebody they're accountable to, and that because they'll always outperform themselves if they do.
So let me ask you this: are you still taking clients?
I do, but not very many. I still have, we peaked at 325 offices in the United States and 80 in Europe. We were also the first people to take practice management to Europe also. We did that in 1998. But I still manage about 50 offices. And if somebody really wants to hook up with me, I'll take them on. But I have not gone out and recruited new clients since in 12 years.
I'm just curious, Chuck. How do you manage your time if you have so many clients?
Well, of course, part of being a successful chiropractor is being organized and being efficient. And I'm a highly organized guy. In fact, Jim, it might surprise you, but before 10 o'clock this morning, I talked to 7 different chiropractors on the phone this morning.
So what time's wake up time for you?
7 o'clock. I'm on the phone at 9. I start talking to my people on the East Coast at 9 o'clock, which is 12 o'clock their time, and then at 10 o'clock I'm talking to guys in the middle of the country, and then the latter part of the morning I'm talking to people on the West Coast.
So your time is very valuable. So thanks for making time to do this interview today.
I cleared my schedule this morning just for you, and this is really important. I think the more chiropractic messages that we get out, a positive message we get out, the better it is for the profession.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So you're in chiropractic 71 years now. I'm just curious. What are you doing to stay tip-top shape? What are you doing to stay healthy?
Well, I can tell you exactly what I do. First of all, I have a positive mental attitude. That's very important. Number two, I really practice really good nutrition. That's number two. Number three, I work out an average in the gym an average of 5 days a week, as a matter of fact. And so that's number three. Number four, I get at least 7.5 to 8 hours sleep a night. Number five, I get adjusted regularly. And number six, I'm connected to a source greater than myself and a purpose greater than myself. And I think that keeps me going. People oftentimes ask me, how do you, you're 88 years old. I'm really not 88, by the way. I'm 27. I've just had 88 years of experience. But they say, what is your longevity? I think the factor that people don't consider is if you're connected to a source greater than self, you'll always have a reason to keep going on. In fact, I have my 5-year plans and my 10-year plans and my 12-year plans. Now, my 12-year plan that'll get me to age 100, and I think I'll make it. I have
So
no comorbidities. So
that's amazing.
yeah,
And
I have a bad pair of knees, but other than that, I don't think that's going to take me down. but I'm a healthy guy.
so you mentioned the things that you do. How important is that for the common person to practice those type of strategies just to be healthy and keep longevity?
Well, first of all, getting adjustments on a regular basis is critical to longevity. It's also critical to having a relatively pain-free lifestyle. And so that's number one. Positive mental attitude, extremely important. Number three, working out is really important. Getting your exercise is really, really important also. Getting sleep is important. And then also having a purpose greater than self is important. And nutrition is important. So it all rolls in together.
So what's your favorite way to stay connected to your source?
Oh, gee, I'm driven, I'm driven by the chiropractic philosophy. It is so beautiful and so pure, and chiropractic works. B.J. Palmer said that chiropractic is an art, philosophy, and art, science, and philosophy. Well, finding subluxations is an art. Even though no healing art is pure science, it's based upon known science. And the third thing is philosophy gives direction to your science. You can build cities with science, or you can destroy cities with science. It is your philosophy that gives direction to the science. But I believe the chiropractic philosophy gives motivation to the chiropractor as well. It gives me motivation because it works. It's the truth. And I know for a fact in my heart that 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 the number one cause of disease in the world today is spinal subluxations, and that 95% of all the people in the world are subluxated at any given time. So we as chiropractors have missionary responsibilities that go way beyond our own personal success to reach out and touch those people's lives and expand their lifestyles and expand their ability to function.
Well, something all this encompasses to what I've told people is called the chiropractic lifestyle. You got to eat right, you got to think right, you got to move right, you got to get adjusted.
Mhm.
And I think that the part that most people leave out is you have to have a connection with your higher power. And I think that philosophy is important as well. So anybody listening, listen to Dr. Chuck and what he has to say about staying healthy and going into your later years of life. So community, I know that you're probably not in private practice anymore, but when you were in private practice, what were some of your favorite ways to stay connected to your local community?
Well, my community, of course, I belong to the usual and customary clubs, but my community is the chiropractic community, and I've always put all my energy in helping chiropractors become better at what they do and moving our profession forward. So to me, my community is the chiropractic community, and that's where I live. But
Yeah.
I belong to the other clubs as well, but that the Rotary and etc. But the chiropractic is my community.
And I was reading through your bio, and it says that you spoke in 32 state associations.
Yes,
And
that's true.
what was it like being on the road so much?
Well, from 1977 until about 2012, I was gone 40 weekends a year, and that's why I sold my practice in 1989, because I would practice Monday. Always had three associates, and I would practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and be gone Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. And I and even though I could handle that, I always felt badly telling people I'll see you Friday, knowing that I'd be in Chicago on Friday or somewhere else.
Yeah. Life on the road, it takes a lot of energy too. So you got to take care of yourself while you're traveling too.
Well, when you're pursuing a cause greater than self, it's relatively easy. Look, from 1999 until 2008, I flew to Europe 8 times a year.
Wow.
That's that's a lot.
So this question, I believe, is quite important. And I'm not asking you to look into a crystal ball or anything, but from where you see chiropractic today and being so involved, where do you see the profession headed?
Well, I think in the long run we're going to be good. I mean, keep in mind I've gone through so many phases of chiropractic, from its relatively early development in the early 50s to the 60s to the roaring 70s and 80s to the managed care 90s, etc. I think we have a problem with schools. That there's only about 5 or 6 schools that really teach pure chiropractic. The other ones are teaching everything and maybe a little bit of chiropractic as well. But I think that's a challenge for us. But there's a new school starting in Washington right now, based on chiropractic philosophy, straight chiropractic. And but every decade, chiropractic gets better, and the reason it gets better is because, for whatever reason, even a high percentage of those that come out of these non-philosophy chiropractic colleges gravitate to the chiropractic philosophy and principle of chiropractic. And every decade it gets better, and the public accepts chiropractic so much better, today than it did 50 years ago. As a matter of fact, our audience, if I can use that terminology, is growing, and therefore chiropractic is growing also. And we have some pretty darn good schools.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, TrackStat, and MSculpt. Let's hustle. Yeah, so let's talk about the schools that, I mean, I don't want you to name names, but what can we do to improve upon the schools that may have lost their way?
Boy, that's a challenging question. You see, you have to understand that the schools that were not principal or taught philosophy all experienced diminished tuition and diminished memberships. So what they've done is they've reached out and they teach everything from clinical to natural childbirth to physical therapy to nursing to physical therapy, etc. And oh, by the way, they have a chiropractic course as well. And I don't see the only thing that would change that would be large numbers of people enrolling for the chiropractic course. But I don't see that happening. I see the people who want to become chiropractors enrolling in the principals schools, such as Sherman, Palmer, and Cleveland, etc.
Yeah, I think that with chiropractic, we need to make the main thing within the schools.
Yeah.
That's why I pre-frame this interview every time with
Mm.
protecting freedom of speech, B.J. Palmer, sacred trust, subluxation, innate intelligence, universal intelligence. So if people didn't know a rip about chiropractic, that might like spark their interest to find out something deeper about the profession.
You're exactly right.
And I think that every school should have that as their charter.
Me too.
I mean, it would just make sense.
I have clients who graduated from the unprincipled schools, and they make fun of their college. I don't see anybody making fun of Cleveland or Sherman or Life West or Life East or Palmer, but I see graduates from these other schools making fun of their own schools because they found out that their chiropractic education was lacking, and they get it from guys like me.
Yeah, well, I could go on and on with you about this, but I think that a lot of the administration at these schools have been captured, and they've been reformatted to talk anything but chiropractic. So we do need to appreciate colleges like Life West, Sherman, Palmer, and like you said, Cleveland. That's where people need to start sending their students to, so that they come out with a principled mindset where they're getting taught a real philosophy and they're getting taught how to adjust. Because I've heard that a lot too, as people out there that are actually in the real world and they're looking for help, and that they have to actually train a chiropractor that's gone through 7 years of schooling how to adjust.
I understand it. I remember I've trained 37 associates, so I understand in my lifetime in my own office. And but it's not only as important to learn how to adjust; it's important to learn why you're adjusting.
So let me ask you this as we come into the last 10 minutes of our time together. If somebody does not know how to adjust well and they are in this beautiful profession, what should they be doing?
Well, first of all, they should. I believe that every student should have a mentor, and I believe that they would be very wise, with rare exception, to associate with a really great chiropractor, because the truth is this, that adjusting is an acquired art, and you get it by doing, and it's virtually impossible to have adjust an awful lot of people, an awful lot of times, and while you're a student. So if they associate with a really good office, then they'll not only will they have plenty of patients to work on to acquire the skills, but the senior doctor ought to be teaching them how to adjust also. So that's important, and also they'll learn practice management and the art of the chiropractic business, because the chiropractor who owns a practice is not only in practice for themselves, and they must be really good at it, but they're also in business for themselves, and they must combine those in such a way that everybody benefits in equal measure.
So you mentioned adjusting a lot of people and getting their hands on people.
Yeah,
What's your take on chiropractic students doing mission trips?
I think it's fantastic. I think they should continue to do it, and they get experience with that. Plus, they're bringing chiropractic to the entire world. I think that's fantastic. One of my friends and clients is leaving tomorrow for Thailand to do that very thing. They have hundreds of patients lined up in Thailand. So there you go.
Yeah, I
And,
had the
and by the way, this guy sees 1,000 visits a week in his own office. And you should interview him. His name is John Bergman. You should interview him sometime.
John Bergman?
Yeah. He's an unbelievable guy.
Is he out in Orange County?
He's in Huntington Beach, California.
Yeah. I know John. Great guy. Yeah, I'll have to line that interview up.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So this is the segment that I'm really excited for, because we're going to talk a little bit of chiropractic history, and we couldn't get off of an interview without talking about some of your heroes and mentors. And I'm really excited for you to share that with our audience, because it's going to give them a sense of chiropractic history also. So
Uh-huh.
let's just jump right into that one.
Okay.
So you mentioned off camera you had three ideas of heroes that you'd like to share with our audience.
Well, mentors who I've tried to incorporate their qualities into myself. How successful I've been, I'll let you decide. But B.J. Palmer, for his unbelievable belief and strength and development of chiropractic. I mean, any chiropractor can't resist or not understand the tremendous value he is to our profession and inspiration as well. Winston Churchill, because of his eloquence and his ability to never give up. I mean, Winston Churchill literally saved uh, Christian civilization from the Nazis, and this would be a different world if today, if Winston Churchill did not exist. And of course, Billy Graham, because of his not only his faith in Christ, but his integrity. You know, not every television preacher has much integrity, but Billy Graham was. You can look at his life. You can't find anything that isn't just on the up and up with that guy. And I admired him very much and tried to copy that same sense of integrity in my life that Billy Graham had in his life as well.
Well, I think that, just because of who you look up to and who's made an impact and how you've seen the world at 88, it's really impressive to be able to have you onto our program today. Um, I know that you went to school with a pretty, great connection of leaders that became the future of chiropractic, really. Um, Fred Barge, Sid
Yes,
Williams, Dee Dee
yes,
Humber,
yes.
and Sid Williams. What
No,
was it?
Reggie Gold.
Reggie Gold, sorry. What was it like to be in that group?
You know, it was fantastic. Sid Williams was a graduate of Georgia Tech, and the Sid Williams that you know today was the Sid Williams that enrolled in Palmer College. He was just amazing, and he was a man with a made up mind, and what he accomplished in his lifetime is just extraordinary. Reggie Gold, most people do not know that Reggie Gold was a paratrooper in the English Air Force during World War II. He also, after the war, became a gun runner for the Israeli army. He spent 6 months in prison, and then in Egyptian prison, and then he came to the United States, and he saw a chiropractor once and decided enrolled in Palmer College the next day. And he was very charismatic and a great speaker, as Sid was. So that was fantastic. Now, Fred Barge was a 19-year-old kid, and you could have predicted how Sid and Reggie would turn out. You would never predicted how Fred Barge was, and the reason being he's a 19-year-old kid, and he grew up at Palmer College as I did, but he grew up into a fantastic, unbelievable, great leader. And in my own case, I'll let you decide. I was just a naive country boy who grew up into somewhat of a leader. I'll let you decide all about that. And DD was always at Sid's side, even in college. You know, he was his personal assistant all the way through Sid's career. But he acted like Sid's personal assistant when he was in college. It was amazing. But anyway, he's a great guy, and as I said before, today's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
He'll be on our program a little bit later today.
Well, oh really? Fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a great person. Yeah.
So so we're gonna wrap up here. We have about 2.5 minutes left of the show, but maybe you could share with us some things you've seen over your career that you would consider to be miracle stories.
Oh, one of my favorites was a hearing case, and she didn't come to me for hearing, but it's one of my favorites because the first chiropractic patient was a hearing case also, Harvey Lillard. But anyway, she was deaf, and what happened was that this is back in the day when they didn't have the small hearing aids like I'm wearing at the moment, but they had those big glasses with you had to wear the glasses because the hearing aids batteries were installed in the glasses. So she came to me for some back trouble, and I adjusted her upper back, and then I had her take her glasses off so she couldn't hear. So I turned her on her side and I gave her an adjustment, and I said, "Now don't move." And she said, "Okay." And then she exclaimed, "My God, I could hear without my glasses. I could hear without my glasses." And I suppose she could see without hearing aids. Anyway, that was one of my favorite stories. Another one was a lady who came to me for some back problems, and she had swallowed a half of a peanut and had gone into her lungs and been lodged for 8 months, and she breathed like
Whoa.
this. And but she didn't come to me for that. She came to me for a back trouble. I adjusted her, and the doctors could not find it because it's hard to x-ray a peanut. So I adjusted her upper back, and she coughed it out.
Oh boy.
And she breathed normally immediately and went directly to the newspaper and told the editor, and he read a story about it. That's another favorite one. And I'll give you my third one. This is my all-time favorite. The first day I was in practice, I went down to the newspaper to take out an ad announcing my being in practice on my own. And I was sitting there. This woman came to me and she said, "Who are you?" Now, remember, I'm 24 years old. I said, "I'm Dr. Chuck Gibson, chiropractor." She says, "Oh, I go to a chiropractor. In fact, a chiropractor is saving my life. I go 3 times a week. Before I started going to him, I could not get out of bed because my muscles would seize up and spasm, and I couldn't move. And people had to get me. So now it only takes me 20 minutes to get out of bed." And I looked her in the eye. Her name was Violet Hageman. I looked her in the eye and I said, "Violet, it's your atlas. You come to me, I'll fix your atlas. And I'll get you out of bed right away." So who do you suppose showed up the very next day in my office? Violet Hageman. Now you have to ask yourself the question, why would Violet Hageman dump a chiropractor who was demonstrably producing results on her for a snotty-nosed, 24-year-old, smart-ass chiropractor kid? So I adjusted her atlas, and guess what? I was right. But her muscles didn't seize up. She had violent headaches, she had tachycardia, and she had total sexual shutdown. And all of those went away. In fact, her husband told me that at one point, that he was thinking about, divorce. And they were Jehovah's Witnesses on top of it. So anyway, she sent me 30 new patients in the first 90 days of practice. Now those witnesses get around, by the way. So she thought I walked on water. So those are fun stories, but there are so many of them. When you see 1,200 new patients a year for 30 some odd years or 29 years, you have a lot of interesting things happen in your office. That's for sure.
Well, Dr. Chuck, I think the miracle is your career. And I thank you for being episode 451.
Oh.
And like we started out our interview today, somehow we always seem to have a good laugh together.
Okay, one thing before you go, and that is this. God bless you for doing what you do, because you're part of the process that's moving the chiropractic profession forward. And I really, really appreciate you and what you do. So keep on doing what you're doing. In the words of B.J. Palmer, keep on keeping on. God bless.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, have a great day.
You too, Chuck.
When our paths cross, let's have lunch.
Please.
Okay, doke.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.